Good morning, I'm Maiki Oreta and you're watching Business 360, where we break down the numbers, connect the dots, and give you the developments and the insights you need to navigate, adapt, and lead. Let's dive right in. The International Monetary Fund warns the Philippines could miss its 2025 growth target as global trade headwinds weigh on export outlook and economic momentum. SMC MRT7 Corporation, owned by Bilyonaryo taps Korea Railroad Corporation to support the next phase of its flagship transit project. And a Tesla dealership in Manhattan is vandalized by protesters targeting Elon Musk over his new role in the Trump administration. First, a look at global financial markets. World stocks stage a strong rebound as investors cheer earnings surprises and signs of easing trade tensions between the United States and China, a trend closely monitored by the Philippine business community amid volatile conditions. U.S. stocks rallied overnight on the back of robust quarterly results and growing optimism that tariff tensions between Washington and Beijing may be cooling. Also boosting market sentiment, a softer tone from President Donald Trump, who now says he has no plans to fire Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. This follows days of attacks, including calling the Fed chief a major loser for not cutting rates earlier.
Yeah, whether you want to call it a relief rally or an oversold bounce, you're bound to get these even amid big bouts of weakness. I think there's a little bit of relief that it seems like the administration is not going to push to fire Fed Chair Powell right away. So a little bit of a bounce on that. But what we're really looking for is evidence that can sustain a longer bounce, a longer rally, and really turn this back into a bull market. And we don't have much evidence of that yet. So oversold bounce, nice to see it. Nice to see a good day, but hard to say it's anything more than that.
The Dow Jones Industrial Average surged 2.7%, the S&P 500 up by 1.5%, and the tech-heavy NASDAQ higher by 2.7%, marking a strong tech-led comeback. In Europe, stocks also ended higher. The UK's FTSE 100 climbed 0.6%, Germany's DAX added 0.4%, and France's CAC 40 higher by 0.6%. Now, the rebound offers temporary relief to global markets, but for investors in the Philippines, risks from U.S. policy uncertainty and geopolitical frictions remain front and center as they shape strategies ahead of local earnings and monetary policy signals. The Philippine economy may again miss its 2025 growth target, sparking fresh worries over the country's ability to withstand global shocks, a growing concern for businesses, investors, and policymakers alike. The International Monetary Fund, or the IMF, now sees GDP growing by just 5.5% this year, which is a sharp downgrade from its earlier 6.1% forecast just last January, and below the government's 6 to 8% growth target for 2025. The IMF blames heightened U.S. tariffs on Philippine exports and other external risks for the slower outlook, underscoring just how global policies continue to shape the country's economic trajectory. The Philippine economy grew by 5.7% last year, also falling short of official targets and revealing the nation's ongoing struggle to sustain post-pandemic momentum. With global demand softening and trade risks rising, the country's growth strategy may need to rely more on domestic consumption, infrastructure push, and further monetary policy easing, a critical focus for Philippine companies mapping out their 2025 plans. Another global research firm is sounding the alarm, warning that the Philippine economy may again miss its growth target in 2025 amid escalating global trade tensions that continue to weigh on exports and investor confidence. BMI, a unit of Fitch Solutions, cites new U.S. tariffs under President Donald Trump, saying these measures could disrupt Philippine electronics exports, one of the country's top growth engines. BMI now sees the Philippine economy growing by just 5.4% this year. That's well below the government's 6 to 8% growth target for 2025, down from BMI's previous forecast of 6.3% just earlier this year. With exports facing pressure and global uncertainty rising, the private sector may need to double down on resilience strategies, including trade diversification, supply chain repositioning, and stimulating domestic demand to stay ahead of what could be a challenging economic landscape this 2025. Metro Manila's economy expands by 5.6% in 2024, a modest improvement from the previous year, but still just behind the national average, according to new data that sheds light on urban recovery and consumer activity in the capital. The Philippine Statistics Authority reports that the National Capital Region outpaced its 2023 growth of 4.9%, but still fell short of the revised 5.7% national GDP growth for 2024. While this marks Metro Manila's best performance since the 7.6% post-pandemic surge in 2022, the slight underperformance relative to the national average raises questions on growth sustainability in the country's main economic hub. The capital's expansion was fueled by a 5.9% growth in the service sector, driven by strong activity in retail, transport, and real estate, outpacing the 5.7% growth in services recorded in 2023. These figures highlight the need to strengthen urban economic engines through improved infrastructure, easier doing business conditions, and targeted investment in high-growth service industries. SMC-MRT-7 Corporation, a subsidiary of San Miguel Corporation's infrastructure arm, is teaming up with South Korea's Korea Railroad Corporation to advance the next phase of the long-delayed MRT-7 project, a key transport link for Greater Manila. Under the partnership, Korail will provide technical support for the line's core operations, including systems management, safety protocols, and maintenance programs to ensure world-class service standards. SMC Chief Ramon Ang calls the deal a critical milestone, admits that right-of-way issues have caused delays, but emphasizes that the group remains committed to full operations by 2026. The MRT-7 is a 22-kilometer elevated railway that will link North Avenue in Quezon City to San Jose del Monte, Bulacan via 14 stations designed to ease traffic and boost connectivity for millions of commuters. MRT-7 is expected to ease traffic congestion in the North Metro Corridor and improve access between Quezon City and Bulacan, a development that could spur activity in real estate, retail, and commercial sectors along that rail line. More than 40,000 people visit the Philippine Pavilion at Expo 2025 in Osaka in Japan in just the first 9 days since the global event opened on April 13th. Marking a strong start for the country's cultural and creative showcase abroad. Tourism Secretary Cristina Frasco says the strong turnout reflects global interest in the Philippines' creative identity as visitors explore local innovation through the lens of culture, history, and design. The Expo, which runs until October 2025, aims to build a future society for our lives by highlighting the best of each participating nation. The Philippine Pavilion features themes of nature, culture, and community, with over 200 hand-woven textiles on display representing the country's diverse regions. The strong opening week reflects not just tourism interest, but also growing global appetite for Filipino products, craftsmanship, and creative exports, a strategic opportunity for businesses looking to tap into international markets through heritage-driven brands and partnerships. Now, ABSCBN, a competing media network, takes a massive loss in its sale of SkyCable's defunct direct-to-home satellite TV assets to Bilyonaryo Dennis Uy, raising questions about asset recovery and the future of its cable business. Documents obtained by Bilyonaryo.com show that ABS-CBN sold the DTH assets for just 421 million pesos to Reliance Broadcasting Unlimited, a firm affiliated with Uy's Converge Group. This is a sharp drop from the original 3.1 billion peso valuation. The sale forms part of a broader agreement between Uy and the Lopez Group to revive SkyCable, which still holds over 10 billion pesos in liabilities. The DTH service was shut down after Congress denied ABS-CBN's franchise renewal, leading to the suspension of its satellite operations. For the Philippine business community, the deal underscores how regulatory shifts can drastically impact valuations and how strategic buyers are capitalizing on distressed media assets in a changing broadcast landscape. Globe Telecom posts record profits for 2024, but the company warns that intense competition and industry disruption continue to weigh on their growth strategy and market share. Sujin Kim has the details.
the ambition is clear for all of us at Globe.
A clear 5-year roadmap and a new leader at the helm. The Ayala-led telco closed 2024 with its highest service revenues on record at 165 billion pesos, with mobile still the core driver. Core net income rose to 21.8 billion pesos, anchored by disciplined cost management and an earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization or EBITDA margin.
We do have a commitment to our shareholders to ensure that EBITDA is above 50%. So being able to operate within a very good operational expense structure.
While Globe is targeting low to mid single-digit top-line growth this year, executives emphasize that this is a conservative outlook and expect an upside from emerging segments. Enterprise solutions and fiber broadband are now central to Globe's expansion strategy, with both segments posting double-digit growth in 2024.
You also have to remember that mobile is 75% of the top line. So it's going to drive a lot of the growth moving forward. Now, what we need to do is to become more efficient to be able to maintain that 50% margin, because that 50% margin will also allow us to reinvest more into CapEx to be able to fund that CapEx, because we will not stop investing to be able to serve the customers.
On the technology front, Globe is embedding AI in its core network operations to preempt outages and reduce downtime.
We employ predictive AI for predictive maintenance on the network, such that the concrete value of that is a month before a site goes down, we are able to predict it.
The company also confirmed that GCash's long-anticipated IPO remains on track. While no timeline was committed, Globe says the offering should be push-button ready, pending favorable market conditions.
So when the market opens up, if we find a window where the valuations we're getting and the interest we're getting is appropriate and acceptable, then we will push that button to trigger the IPO.
Meanwhile, infrastructure investments continue. Globe plans to scale up its data center capacity from 33 megawatts to 52 megawatts by 2026, with the first 8 megawatt phase scheduled to go live within the year. Sujin Kim, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
We're taking a quick break. Please stay with us as we dive deep into the numbers and the narratives that matter most to your bottom line.
Your professionalism and dedication to delivering news with clarity and compassion have earned you this prestigious recognition. Congratulations, Corina Sanchez Rojas, for winning the Best Female Newscaster at the 38 PMPC Star Awards for television. Only here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Good morning, everyone!
Let's begin your morning with these people that gives you the hottest information.
I'm Pablo de Rosario. Let's get you up to speed with some news that you could use right now.
Rise and shine, beautiful people. I'm Ann Esses Carillo.
And I'm Monique Tuzon. Your mornings are always more fun with us.
With excitement,
It was amazing.
positivity,
Everything is so beautifully made here.
and fun to start your day.
Only here on...
It's a beautiful day!
Welcome back. Let's check on how Asian markets are moving this morning, with investors weighing global trade developments and key economic signals from both local and international sources. Also, Wall Street overnight setting a positive backdrop for trading today. Japan's Nikkei 225 higher by 1.5%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index up as well, up by 1.5%. Singapore's Straits Times Index up by 1.6%, whereas Shanghai's Composite is going in the other direction. It's flat with a downward bias, down by about 0.1% right now. Now, here at home, the PSCI ended flat on Tuesday with a slight uptick as trade uncertainty continues to weigh on market sentiment. The benchmark PSC index gained 0.1% to close at 61.46 as investors remain cautious amid lingering concerns over U.S. trade policy. Now, trading volume was thin with value turnover at just 4 billion. Modest foreign selling further contributed to the subdued market sentiment. Now, analysts say investors may remain on the sidelines for now, waiting for greater clarity on global trade talks while closely watching quarterly earnings and local economic data for direction. Now, overall market caution reflects broader uncertainty over international policy trajectories and potential domestic monetary adjustments as investors shift their focus back to fundamentals, including corporate results and signals from the Bangko Sentral to gauge the near-term outlook. Now, taking a look at the PSE index this morning, as of 10:18, the main gauge is in the red, down by almost 0.2% to 61.36. The broader all shares index flat with a negative bias. The financials, industrial, holding firms, services, and mining and oil counters, mostly everything is in the red except for the property counter, which is in the green by 0.4%. Trading volume is at 115 million pesos, while value turnover is at 2.12 billion right now. We've got 61 advancers, 61 decliners, and unchanged stocks are at 40. Now, at the foreign exchange market, the peso opened slightly stronger at 56.65 against the dollar, improving from Monday's close of 56.68. Now, on another front, Mega Prime Foods, led by the Chu Lim family, is among the first in the Philippines to use the Tesla Model Y as part of its sustainability drive, reflecting a wider shift toward ESG-aligned transport strategies. Our mobility correspondent G. Baroga has the details.
Tesla of American billionaire Elon Musk has been in the Philippines since November last year. And with the first wave of Model Y units rolling out, one of the country's biggest food manufacturers is wasting no time. Mega Prime Foods, steered by Bilyonaryo William Chu Lim and his son Marvin, is now driving towards sustainability. The company is piloting the use of electric vehicles for its executives as they gear up to electrify their entire delivery operation.
We really want to go into mobility in terms of electrification of our fleet, starting with our people's fleet, hence Tesla for our heads, and hopefully sooner or later more and more will come in.
Marvin says the move is more than just a nod to innovation. It's part of a broader roadmap to cut emissions across their logistics chain. And while Metro Manila already offers a decent network of charging stations, he admits expansion will hinge on infrastructure catching up, especially in the provinces.
When we go to the province, that's when we need to wait till the infrastructure arrives there before we can really deploy it in our provincial offices.
Looking ahead, the Bilyonaryo-led company is exploring options to electrify its truck fleet as well, once the charging ecosystem is ready to support larger-scale operations. For Mega Prime Foods, the Tesla Model Y isn't just a car. It's a first step toward a cleaner, more efficient future in food delivery. Meanwhile, Tesla is marking Earth Day with a week-long campaign to celebrate Mother Earth.
This is one of Tesla's supercharger stations located at the basement parking of Uptown Mall, part of the posh development by Bilyonaryo Kevin Tan. Tesla says they'll be expanding their superchargers and destination chargers across the country by the end of the year to ease range anxiety of EV owners. For BNC Mobility, G. Baroga.
A Tesla dealership in Manhattan's Soho district is vandalized by a climate protest group taking aim at Elon Musk over his role in U.S. government policy and corporate influence. Protesters spray-painted messages on the dealership criticizing Musk, who is now serving as a senior advisor to U.S. President Donald Trump. Musk has been tasked with slashing government contracts, shrinking the federal workforce, and cutting the federal government's real estate footprint, policies that have drawn sharp pushback from climate activists. The incident underscores the growing global tensions between climate advocacy and tech-powered policymaking, raising questions about ESG credibility, corporate accountability, and the role of business leaders in government decision-making. U.S. President Donald Trump says he will not play hardball with Chinese President Xi Jinping in upcoming trade talks, striking a more cautious tone amid global market uncertainty. Trump dismissed earlier threats of aggressive tariff hikes, clarifying that duties on Chinese goods will not reach 145%, as earlier mentioned by some U.S. officials. He expressed hope for a constructive outcome in talks with Xi, but warned that the U.S. may still proceed with a unilateral deal if negotiations fall through.
145% is very high, and it won't be that high. It's not going to be that high. It got up to that. We were talking about fentanyl, where, various elements built it up to 145. No, it won't be anywhere near that high. It'll come down substantially, but it won't be zero. It used to be zero. We were just destroyed. China was taking us for a ride, and just not going to have. It's not going to happen. We're going to be very good to China, have a great relationship with President Xi, but they would make billions and billions and billions of dollars a year, and they would build their military out of the United States and what they made, so that won't happen. But they're going to do very well, and I think they're going to be happy, and I think we're going to live together very happily and ideally work together. So I think it's going to work out very well. But no, it's at 145%. There will not be anywhere near that number.
For the Philippines, which plays a critical role in regional supply chains, the outcome of these talks could shape export trajectories, capital flows, and business confidence, with direct implications for manufacturing, electronics, and trade-reliant sectors. On another front, mourning continues following the passing of Pope Francis, a global religious leader who deeply touched the hearts of the Filipino people. Affectionately called Lolo Kiko, his messages of hope, compassion, and unity resonated widely, particularly during his historic visit to Manila back in 2015, which brought millions of the faithful to the streets. The late pontiff will be moved to St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican City today for public viewing ahead of his funeral on Saturday. In a departure from tradition, his final testament, released Monday, revealed his wish to be laid to rest not in St. Peter's, but in the Basilica of St. Mary Major in Rome, a place he visited frequently during his papacy. Pope Francis's death marks the end of an era for Catholics worldwide, and in the Philippines, where he remains one of the most beloved religious figures, his legacy is expected to shape faith, social conscience, and interfaith dialogue for years to come. Still on Pope Francis, now he had a special connection with the Filipino faithful following his emotional visit to the country in 2015. The Holy Father traveled to Tacloban in Leyte to meet the survivors of Super Typhoon Yolanda. Despite inclement weather, he pushed through with a mass, leaving a lasting impression on those who witnessed his compassion firsthand. Party list representative Jude Asidre says the Pope held deep meaning for Filipinos, especially in disaster-stricken communities.
He was there when our region was recovering from Typhoon Yolanda, when we were at our lowest. He was there to really assure us that we were not alone and that he's there for us. Sabi nga niya, a little bit too late, but he's there. I'm here. Alala ko pa yung sermon niya nung misa niya sa tarmac ng Tacloban. And all these images, all these memories kept coming back to me since we've learned of his passing. So while we mourn, while we are sad by his passing, at the same time we are also grateful, and we want to express that gratitude to him for being not just a pope, but really a father to many of us Filipinos, especially in Eastern Visayas.
Meanwhile, Lanao del Sur 1st District Representative Zia Alonto Adyong, a Muslim, praised Pope Francis for his firm stance on human rights and his openness to interfaith dialogue, saying his leadership extended beyond Catholicism.
We joined the global community in expressing our sympathies to the passing of Pope Francis, kasi he's one of the leading voices in pushing for, number one is human rights. He's very active. Before he's becoming a pope, he was really active in interfaith dialogue. I believe he's very much active in supportive of that, the avenue of creating a more humane and more tolerant world. And Islam is one of those religions that really pushes for that understanding and tolerance among the three major Abrahamic faiths. So course, we send and express our sympathies to the Church and to the entire Roman Catholic community.
Pope Francis's legacy in the Philippines transcends religion, remembered for his humanity, humility, and his ability to unite communities across faiths, especially in times of crisis. And that's it for Business 360. I'm Maiki Oreta. Thank you for joining us. Keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.